Hello everyone. I got this old John Deere L120 lawn tractor off Craigslist 3 years ago when I was in a bind. I had acres of grass to cut and I only had a push mower at the time. This thing had some significant problems, but I got it for $300, so I figured it was worth the risk. I fixed a wiring problem with the PTO clutch, changed the plugs, oil and filters, and pushed some JB weld into a spot where oil was leaking past the sump gasket. Then this old workhorse saved the summer of 2019. But that makeshift leak repair failed at the beginning of the next season. The smoke screen it put up made it unusable, so I parked it. I got my Craftsman tractor around the same time, so the L120's been sitting for 2 years. It's about time to take care of that sump gasket replacement. So I've been putting this job off for a long time, guys. This is a John Deere L120 lawn tractor. It has the Briggs and Stratton INTEK V-twin 20 horsepower engine. And as is pretty common with these, the sump gasket is leaking, which causes oil to drip onto the hot muffler, and it puts up a nice cloud of smoke. So it's time to replace the sump gasket and the main crank seal.
So I've never worked with one of these before, but there's more than one way to pop a belt off a PTO. The first thing I'm going to do is disconnect the fuel line from the engine. Actually from this little fuel pump up here. Hold it up high so it doesn't leak. And then since this is 1/4 inch line, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch drill bit as a plug. That should help keep it from leaking if this thing drops down. Normally the first thing you would want to do is disconnect the battery. This battery has a battery disconnect on it. It was that way when I bought it, so that's convenient. Alright, take the cable off the starter. I have a ground down 7/16 open end. Ground it down to make it narrow so it could fit into tight spaces like this. This is a 3/8 inch bolt head. Looks like I'm missing one right here. There's 4 of these. They just hold this plastic screen on top. Man, that looks clean. Well, I did service it a couple of years ago before I put it up. And I was getting it ready to run for the season. We had all this smoke coming out of it, so we didn't use it that season or last season. Well, what do you know, that's what was holding this cover on. Yeah. We'll have to take that connector apart. This comes out along with the engine. Now for the throttle cable and the choke cable, those levers are pulled all the way back, so these cables are extended all the way. I'll put these back where they belong just so I don't lose them.
Okay, the PTO clutch bolt on the output shaft under the engine needs to be removed. When I try to turn it, the crankshaft is going to turn. So I need the flywheel held.
With a screwdriver tip, very firmly. Just push it right in there, and then you can see the engine won't turn. So just hold it in nice and tight here. Put a little bit of weight behind it just to make sure you're solid. And I'll go down below and loosen up that PTO clutch bolt. Okay, here we go. This smack the camera. Okay, so I've gone ahead and removed this PTO bolt. This holds the PTO clutch to the motor shaft. And the PTO clutch just basically fell off the end of the shaft. There's no friction holding it up there at all. It just came right out. And I had to pull these two electrical connections. Just a negative and a positive. And the clutch is now completely free. Alright, there's 4 bolts under here that hold the engine down. I tried to wipe them off. So there's one. There's the other. Those are on the back. Then toward the front, there's one. And can we see the other one? Well, there's one there. There should be one over here somewhere. There it is. So those are the 2 front bolts. There's one, there's the other, and that's one in the back, and that one's in the back. And so these bolts that are holding this Briggs and Stratton engine down onto this John Deere tractor, these have 15mm heads. Okay. Well, that's the first one out of 4. I can't see it at all. So this belt guide comes out with it, I see. You can probably grab under that's the oil filter. You can grab under there. Here. Yep. And grab the pipe. The pipes are going to pull right out of the muffler. Okay, so it's not that heavy to think.
Oh, that's fine.
Not too bad. Let it go nice and easy here. Alright. Well, it's the next morning and I'm getting ready to start work on this gasket replacement. So to begin with, I'm just going to give the whole bottom of the sump a good wipe down. Try to clean up some of this goop that's on it. Get it nice and clean to the point that I can with a dry rag. So I thought I had a bit of a problem here because my biggest puller, I have a 3-jaw puller here, as far down as it can reach, it still can't get under this pulley. And it seemed to be extremely tightly stuck on that shaft. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just kind of goofing around, and I put these 2 boards under it, and I thought, well, maybe I can somehow wedge under there. You don't want to use like a pry bar on the bottom of the case, because you risk cracking the bottom of the case. It's only an aluminum casting. You can see it's loose there. So just for the heck of it, I put these boards under here, and I just pried up. So I'm prying on the outer edge of the case and on the motor mounts. And the first time I pried, the thing just popped right up. It actually flew off and landed on the floor. I wasn't expecting it to come off so easy. But I think, yeah, this is a tapered shaft. So once it's loose, it's loose. I wasn't expecting that, but that turned out to be a lot easier than I was expecting. And so actually, while I was trying to figure this out, I poured a bunch of PB Blaster on here, thinking that I didn't know how this was going to come off. This is all one piece. So my PB Blaster was totally ineffective. But if I were smarter, or if I knew more, I would have threaded this in, like, so that those threads are fully buried into the shaft. And then the space around, you can see there's a space there between the bolt and the inside of the hole in the shaft. Just fill that with PB Blaster so that could soak down in between this and the shaft. And for some reason that might help you. For some reason, this thing is covered, well, it's covered with motor oil, so that shouldn't be too much of a surprise, I guess. And that's another good reason why I should be replacing this main seal. And I got a new one, so I will be replacing that. So I'm going to tackle this oil pump. I don't know if there's a good order to disassemble things, but I want to take care of this oil pump first, because I think there's a shaft that can drop out when I lift the sump. So I'd rather pull it out ahead of time. This looks like somebody put a bunch of silicone sealant on the O-ring. Yep. That's an O-ring, and I'll have to see if it's in good shape or not. There's a little bit of wear on the cover. This is the part that contacts the oil pump. This is the oil pump. Wow, that magnet is actually strong enough. So that's one of the vanes in the oil pump. Not sure if that's what it's called. I will find out though. This should lift out of here. There it goes. I'm going to put it down on here in the direction that it would be up against the top there. And this is the shaft I was wondering about. Seems like that should be removed first because it's going to drop inside when I lift the sump. So that's the oil pump all taken care of. For right now, I'm going to put the cover back on. And I'll open it up again and clean it up better before I reinstall the sump. Time to disassemble this governor linkage from the shaft that goes internally to the motor. (50-50). Once it's loose, it should just slide off. Once that's been loosened, it should just slide off, but it needs a little help. So I'm going to try to spread these. It's kind of a pinch boss arrangement here. Just spread that out a little bit. I just need to tap this wedge in there a little bit to spread it out. Yep. And we're just going to leave that whole assembly assembled. We don't want to take that apart and have to try to figure out how it goes back together again later. Start taking these sump case bolts out. We're almost ready to lift this sump, or drop it since we're upside down. We're going to drop it up. These bolts are all the same length, and they come with a Loctite, some type of a thread lock on them. And as we saw when we looked at the parts I got, the head gasket, the sump gasket comes with new bolts. So we're not reusing these. We'll keep them around. Might be able to reuse them on something else someday. They might be metric. Ah, the smell of engine case oil. So there's these blocks sticking out here on the case that I think are conveniently located to try to break the seal between the sump And the top part of the motor case, engine case. It's definitely broken there. Here we go. It's important to be careful because what we're dealing with here is the crankshaft main bearing here and inside here. So we want to keep that especially clean. It does have a little, it does have some wear marks and frankly circular scratch marks in it. That's not exciting. So this is the motor main bearing in here. So you need to be careful about not scratching or damaging that. Carefully start lifting this old gasket off. Mainly it just seems to just pull right off. So it should be pretty easy to clean these surfaces. Another thing we want to check are these alignment pins. It's nice and snug in there. Nice and snug, a perfect fit. Then we also need to check it in the top side. And that one is perfect. That one is fine as well. There's no play in that at all. It slides in and there's no play. I don't see how it could be more perfect. Pull this pin out just to get it out of my way over here. This gasket scraper is very old and it doesn't have a sharp edge on it, which I think is what you want in this case, because you don't want to dig into that aluminum housing. A very sharp edge might cut into the surface. For example, using a razor blade, you have to be very careful not to dig in. I just want to get that fiber off of there from the gasket, the remains of the gasket. And not to dig into the aluminum surface in the process. Oops. And don't put any crud down inside the engine. You can see how I'm getting up those fibers. Well, mostly not digging into the surface here. If you want to use an even extra level of gentle with a single edge razor, do it by hand. Then you can really feel what it's doing on the surface. I'm not trying to cut into that. I'm trying not to cut into it. I just want to remove the fibrous material of the gasket and whatever adhesive the gasket has on it. I think it's got some adhesive on it. The new one seems to. The part of the engine that was leaking, let's see, the front. So this area here is where the leak was, right here. So I'll be extra careful and do an extra good job of cleaning those surfaces, although all the surfaces have to be very well cleaned. So I'll just continue on with that now on the engine case and on the sump. And there's no need for you to watch all that.
Let's look at the parts I got. The sump gasket and bolts came together in a white paper envelope, and the main seal came in a sealed plastic bag. Here's the part numbers for those. There's the gasket, and you can see the sump bolts come with some thread locker already applied. The instruction sheet provides the necessary torque specs and the torque sequence. The main seal is like any modern automotive shaft seal.
So I rolled up a clean dry rag and put it in the top side of the case there to soak up all the oil that was in there. That rag has picked up probably a half a pint of oil, if not more. Just sitting there soaking it up. So that does a good job. Okay. Got this nice and clean and dry. Scraped it off and then wiped it down with brake cleaner. There's no more oil on it. I think it's ready to hold the gasket pretty good. So we can see right here where the gasket got sucked in. This is the area where the leak was, the major part of the leak. It was kind of from here and here, but you can see right here. I don't know if the camera can pick this up. Let me see if I can use a pointer or something here. So I can see the line right here where the two halves of the case were squeezing that gasket. Like for example here, it's very evident. Here it's very evident where you see this inner darkened area on the gasket that was squeezed inside the case by the two halves pinching down on it. Now look over here. The darkened area on the inside, you can see it was pinching down on it here and here, like here and here, but it looks like that section of the gasket was never really even squeezed in there. I don't know if that was installed properly or if that's really how it happens, that the gasket pulls in and see there's no marks on it as it having ever been squeezed between the two halves. So I'm not sure what happened there, but the gasket is definitely not properly aligned to where it needed to be to stop the oil from leaking out. So anyway, now I can get to work with removing the gasket from the the bottom sump pan gasket sealing surfaces. Okay, same for the sump. Looks really good. Nice and clean. This came out better than the main case of the engine. Probably because I had it up here on a work surface where I didn't have to crouch over it. I'm just going to wipe this bearing journal off and bathe it in some fresh motor oil. Before I assemble this. Just 10W30 motor oil. The gasket is unfortunately a little bit wavy, kind of bent or distorted because that's just how it was in the, it comes in a paper wrapper, so going through the mail, it's impossible to keep it nice and flat. And wipe out this main bearing. Put some oil in here too. Definitely going to put some oil down in that bearing. As far as torquing these down, this is number 1. It's snug. I'm just snugging them down by hand to start with. Well, this is number 1 over here. That's number one. Two is on the opposite side, which is over here. This is 9 and 10, and they were already snug. Okay. Trying to dry the excess oil off inside here so the seal will seal when I put it in. Putting a little oil on the lip seal. You don't want it to be dry when you install it.
The key here is to make sure the seal doesn't catch an edge and get rolled back as it's driven in.
That's bad.
This is one of the trickier ones I've installed.
Make sure it's got some oil on it. These are a bugger.
I found that when I dropped one side in lower than the other, and I pushed the seal's lip against the lower side, it made a little space on the higher side so it could drop right in without catching on the edge. Then I made sure it was driven in evenly.
Taking a little flat-ended drift and hitting the outside edge of the seal. You can tell that it's seated. It's not moving. And it sounds like it's up against something solid. Drying off this O-ring for the oil pump seal. and the cover. I put some red RTV around here, that's all I had to help seal that O-ring. Here's the shaft for the oil pump. Goes there. There. That looks good. I still have to torque these down. Then tighten them to 1/3, then 2/3, then to the final torque in the sequence shown below. Final torque value is 325 pound-inches. So I need to go like 100, 200, 325. Okay, this is a inch-pound torque wrench that goes 0 to 150, so I set the needle to 100, and as I torque, it'll get closer to 0. So when I hit 0, I know I'm at 100. It's just how I like to do it. It makes it simple. I'm just looking to hit 0. So here's number 1. Number 1 in the sequence. That's it. 2. Three is over here. Not there. 3 is here. Four is the opposite side. Okay, 5 is up here. It's already there. 6 is up here. 7 at the bottom here. 8. 9, and 10. Okay, that's 100 inch-pounds on all of them. Now I need to get a different torque wrench. Unfortunately, I have to use a foot-pound torque wrench now, because that's all I have that goes down that low. This is, I want to go to 200, like say 212. Let's try that. Foot-pounds to inch-pounds, inch-pounds to foot-pounds, so 212 divided by 12 was 17.66666. I'll go to 18 foot-pounds. Foot-pounds times 12 inches equals 216. That's a pretty good number. Start out with number 1 again, which is right here. Okay. Number 2 across the way. Three. 4. 5. 6. 7. This is 8. 9. Oops. And 10. We're going to 325 foot-pounds. 325 inch-pounds divided by 12 inches, 27. So I'm taking this up to 27 foot-pounds. And that's the best I can do. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 8. 9. 10. All right, we do the best we can do. And that's, under these circumstances, with the equipment I have, under these conditions, that's the best I can do. Okay, you can kind of grab a hold of the end of this little shaft and rotate it. And if you rotate it clockwise, you'll hear it hit in here. You hear that? Put this linkage at full throttle, just hold that all wide open throttle, and that's the position where this needs to be. With this thing, rotate it all the way till it hits. And just tighten it down. This little pinch boss. And that's it. That's where the governor needs to be. Remember, you need to gently roll it this way. On the opposite side. You can grab onto that starter. That going up with the muffler. Set it down flat. And that's that.
All right.
Now I get to bolt it down.
Nice.
Okay, now I've got to get these 4 motor mount bolts in. But first I have to get the back 2 in, and that'll help me line this plate up. This plate has to be in. During the disassembly process, I showed you where those bolts are. I'm not going to really tighten them down. I'm just going to get the screw head, the bolt head all the way flush with the surface. I'm not even going to snug it down. I'm just going to stop when it hits. This plate goes to the bolts to the bottom of the engine like this, and the drive pulley for the hydrostatic drive, the belt pulley, rotates around inside these tabs, and they're there just to keep the belt from flying out when you hit the brake and disengage the belt. I think I can get that pulley up in there. With this plate already in place. That's what I'm going to try to do. Okay, those 4 motor mount bolts are all nicely snugged down and ready to be tightened. This is the drive pulley for the hydrostatic drive. Since it's on a tapered shaft and the inside of that pulley assembly is tapered, I just smack it up there and it holds. It's the only thing holding it up. It's just a little bit of a friction fit. So I'm going to release the brake, which also engages the pulley. That'll help hold it as well. The belt's pretty snug. I didn't do a good job of showing you how to take the PTO clutch out. I think I'm going to do a better job showing you how it goes back in. Whoops. There's a key inside there. I don't know if you can see it. The shaft key. And there's a keyway on the back of the shaft here. I'm just trying to get it set up so it'll be lined up to that. You do that by moving the pulley in relationship to the clutch housing here. And there's a slot in the bottom here which goes over this tab. You just push this right up in there. Hopefully. Aha. So I managed to find the keyway and get this tab aligned. All right, I'm turning the engine, so I'm going to need an assistant to hold it. Meanwhile, I have these two wire connectors to plug in. I'm going to try to show you where they go. See them there? They plug in there. Your tractor might have a molded connector to plug in there. I just have those two push-on clips. Lugs on the end of the wire. Okay, so yesterday we were loosening it, and today we're tightening it so you're on the other side. Same thing though, same principle. You ready?
Yep.
Let me see if I can do it from over here. There we go. Okay, ready?
Yep.
One more time, ready?
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty tight. Thank you.
Yep.
Should be all set.
Alright.
I don't know what the torque is supposed to be on that, but I pulled it pretty hard. Now the final tightening on these motor mount bolts.
So I put about 2.5 hours on this after I got done reassembling it. And it was 2.5 hours of pretty hard work with some particularly deep grass, tall grass. I don't see that the oil has dropped at all. Just a quick look. I'm not seeing any signs of leakage. One place I'm checking is on top of that shiv that powers the hydrostatic, because that's the first thing underneath the main seal. There's no oil on it. I don't think I have a leak there with the new seal. That's good. I'm not seeing any drips or leakage of any kind at this point. So it looks like it was a good job. Hopefully it'll hold up. And I think I'm ready to go put the hood back on. Maybe do some more mowing.